Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha, dropped a bombshell. In a recent interview, he called tariffs an act of war, a statement that has reverberated across the globe. Strong words from a man known for his calm demeanor and insightful analysis. Buffett's perspective is always highly regarded. Buffett, a staunch believer in free markets, didn't mince his words. His conviction was clear and unwavering. He declared that tariffs are essentially taxes on American consumers, a burden that ultimately falls on the public. Buffett's statement sent shockwaves through the financial world, causing many to rethink their stance on trade policies. Could tariffs, often seen as a tool of economic policy, really be considered acts of aggression? This question now looms large. Buffett, with his decades of experience, seems to think so, and he's not alone in this belief. Economists and business leaders have long warned about the dangers of protectionist policies, emphasizing their potential to backfire. Tariffs, they argue, disrupt global trade, raise prices for consumers, and ultimately harm economic growth. The ripple effects are far-reaching. Buffett's act of war comment is a stark reminder of the high stakes involved in trade disputes. It's a powerful metaphor. It's a wake-up call, urging us to consider the true cost of protectionism. The implications are profound and far-reaching. The Trump administration has unleashed a whirlwind of tariffs, leaving businesses and consumers reeling in confusion and uncertainty. From China to Mexico, Canada to the European Union, no trading partner has been spared. The administration's latest move, a staggering 25% tariff on goods from Canada and Mexico. This comes on top of already existing tariffs on Chinese goods, which have now been hiked up from 10% to a hefty 20%. These tariffs, like a tornado ripping through the global economy, are leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. Businesses are struggling to cope with rising costs, consumers are facing higher prices, and the stock market is on edge. The administration argues that these tariffs are necessary to protect American jobs and industries. But critics argue that they are doing more harm than good, undermining the very economy they are supposed to protect. The Trump administration's trade war is hitting Americans where it hurts most, their wallets. The impact of these policies is being felt across the nation, from small towns to big cities. Tariffs, despite the administration's claims, are not paid by foreign countries. Instead, they are an added cost for American businesses that import goods. They are paid by American businesses, and ultimately, American consumers. This means higher prices for everyday items. Think about it. When the price of imported steel goes up because of tariffs, those increased costs are passed along the supply chain. Every link in the chain feels the pressure. Car manufacturers, appliance makers, and construction companies all have to pay more for their raw materials. This leads to higher production costs. And who ends up footing the bill? You guessed it, the American consumer. The increased costs trickle down to the end users. From cars and washing machines to groceries and clothing, the prices of everyday goods are creeping up. No sector is left untouched. This tariff-induced inflation is eating away at the purchasing power of American families, leaving them with less money to spend on other things. Families are forced to make tough choices. The administration's claim that tariffs are good for the American people is simply not true. Experts and economists have repeatedly pointed out the flaws in this argument. The reality is that tariffs are a hidden tax, a burden placed squarely on the shoulders of hardworking Americans. It's a cost that many can ill afford, affecting their quality of life. In a rare moment of candor, President Trump admitted that his tariffs have had a more damaging impact on the U.S. economy than he anticipated, particularly the trade war with China. The admission, however, was short-lived. Reports emerged of Trump and his team attempting to erase this admission from public record, a move reminiscent of previous efforts to rewrite history and control the narrative. This attempt at historical revisionism further fuels the controversy surrounding the administration's trade policies. Trump's initial admission, however fleeting, underscores the real-world consequences of his trade war. It's a tacit acknowledgement that the tariffs have not achieved their intended goals, and have instead inflicted pain on the American economy. The attempt to bury this admission raises serious questions about transparency and accountability. If the administration is willing to erase an inconvenient truth about its trade policies, what else might it be trying to hide? Section 5. Collateral damage industries caught in the crossfire. The trade war's fallout extends far beyond rising consumer prices. It affects the very fabric of our economy, touching every corner of the market. Entire industries are caught in the crossfire, struggling to navigate the treacherous terrain of tariffs and retaliatory measures. The uncertainty is causing businesses to rethink their strategies and operations. American farmers, once reliable exporters of soybeans and other agricultural products, are facing dwindling demand and plummeting prices, as China, a major trading partner, seeks alternative suppliers. This shift is threatening the livelihood of many farming communities. The auto industry, heavily reliant on parts from Mexico and Canada, is grappling with increased costs and supply chain disruptions. These challenges are forcing manufacturers to delay production and reconsider their supply chains. Retailers already operating on thin margins are feeling the squeeze as tariffs erode their profits. The added costs are making it difficult for them to stay competitive in a crowded market. Some are forced to raise prices, risking a decline in sales, while others are absorbing the costs, cutting into their bottom line. This delicate balancing act is unsustainable in the long run. The trade war is creating winners and losers, but the losers far outnumber the winners. The economic landscape is becoming increasingly polarized. American businesses, large and small, are bearing the brunt of the administration's protectionist policies. The long-term effects could reshape the economic landscape for years to come. Section 6. Global trade on edge, retaliation, and rising tensions. The trade war is not confined to American shores. It's a global conflict with far-reaching consequences for the international trading system. Trading partners, angered by the Trump administration's aggressive tactics, have retaliated with tariffs of their own, creating a vicious cycle of protectionism. China, the European Union, Canada, Mexico, all have imposed retaliatory tariffs on American goods, targeting key industries like agriculture, manufacturing, and technology. These tariffs are hurting American businesses, costing jobs, and further disrupting global trade. The trade war is eroding trust and cooperation among nations. It's undermining the rules-based trading system that has underpinned global prosperity for decades. The longer the trade war drags on, the greater the risk of permanent damage to the global economy. Section 7. A history of tariffs from Smoot-Hawley to Trump. Tariffs are not a new phenomenon. Throughout history, governments have used tariffs to protect domestic industries, raise revenue, and achieve geopolitical objectives. But history also teaches us that tariffs often have unintended consequences, sometimes with disastrous results. The Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, widely regarded as one of the worst economic policies in American history, is a stark reminder of the dangers of protectionism. The act, which raised tariffs on thousands of imported goods, exacerbated the Great Depression, contributing to a global trade collapse and widespread economic hardship. The lessons of Smoot-Hawley are clear. Tariffs are a blunt instrument, often doing more harm than good. They can trigger retaliation, disrupt global trade, and ultimately harm the very economies they are intended to protect. Section 8. Buffett's consistent stance. A longtime critic of trade wars. Warren Buffett's recent criticism of tariffs is not an isolated incident. He has been a vocal opponent of protectionism for decades, consistently advocating for free trade and open markets. During the 2016 presidential campaign, Buffett criticized then-candidate Trump's protectionist rhetoric, warning that tariffs would harm American businesses and consumers. He has repeatedly argued that trade is a win-win proposition, benefiting all parties involved. Buffett's views on trade are grounded in his deep understanding of economics and his experience as a successful investor. He understands that trade creates wealth, fosters innovation, and promotes peace. He also knows that protectionism is a recipe for economic stagnation and global conflict. Section 9. The Future of Trade, a call for open markets and cooperation. The current trade war is a wake-up call, a reminder of the importance of open markets and international cooperation. The global economy is interconnected, and attempts to retreat behind walls of protectionism are doomed to fail. The path forward is clear dialogue, not tariffs. The United States should engage in constructive negotiations with its trading partners, seeking to resolve disputes through diplomacy and compromise. It's time to de-escalate the trade war, roll back tariffs, and reaffirm our commitment to a rules-based trading system. The future of the global economy depends on our ability to work together to create a more open, fair, and prosperous world for all. Let's heed Warren Buffett's warning, learn from the mistakes of the past, and choose the path of cooperation over conflict.